Allen Lund Company, 47 years young and a proud sponsor, wishes OOIDA all the best as you celebrate 50 years.
OOIDA, representing America's truckers since 1973, presents Landline Now with your host, Mark Reddig.
It's year 17 for the Truckers For Troops Telethon at OOIDA. Landline Now's Ashley Blackford sits down with OOIDA's Director of Public Relations, Norita Taylor, to discuss the campaign, how it got started, and where the money goes. She'll also talk about how the telethon has grown over the years to serve not just those overseas, but also the veterans who have come home and fallen on hard times. A transport company recently stepped up to help deliver parts for a project to assemble a C-47 at Camp Toccoa in Currahee, Georgia. Landline Now's Ashley Blackford spoke with the woman who coordinated the effort. And finally, Jami Jones, Scott Thompson, Ashley Blackford, and Norita Taylor will join me in Studio A to recap this week's Truckers for Troops effort. But first, the news with Scott Thompson.
Thanks, Mark. More details tonight about the companion pieces of legislation in Congress that would guarantee overtime pay for truck drivers. The bills now have numbers: Senate Bill 3273 and H.R. 6359. The Guaranteeing Overtime for Truckers, or GOT Truckers Act, would repeal the motor carrier provision of the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, which excludes many truckers from overtime protections enjoyed by other workers. Congressman Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey reintroduced the new bipartisan House bill alongside his colleague, Congressman Mark Reddig of California. Here's Representative Van Drew breaking down the problem during a hearing earlier this year.
For one, I do rise in support of removing the exemption under the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA. It denies truckers guaranteed overtime pay. Any other industry or business, when you work hours and hours over your regular time, you get paid overtime. It's only fair. And truckers work harder than just about anybody else, so it makes it even more fair. Last Congress, I co-sponsored the Guaranteeing Overtime for Truckers Act that would have eliminated FLSA's motor carrier overtime exemption, which means truck drivers don't get the overtime. It would have increased driver pay, it would have improved highway safety, and it would have helped address supply chain delays.
Congressman Van Drew is using the past tense there because the earlier version of the GOT Truckers Act failed to gain traction in the House. So did a previous Senate version of that same act. So more support will be needed, obviously, for the bill to become law. The effort has the support of the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. Bryce Mungin, OOIDA Director of Legislative Affairs, says it's an issue both Democrats and Republicans should be able to get behind.
Yeah, I would say this certainly this is obviously bipartisan legislation. We have Congressman Van Drew leading the bill in the House. But I will say we are frustrated that more Republicans have not stepped up in support of this. Certainly, we've heard a lot of thanks and a lot of support for truckers from across the political spectrum. And we do think that this is something that should be easy for all members of Congress to support. Certainly, we haven't heard any opposition, really, from members of Congress because, frankly, it's hard to come out against the idea of paying truckers overtime. So I think it, as an idea, has a lot of support because it's a very simple idea. Drivers should be treated no differently than any other blue-collar workers, and they shouldn't be treated differently, certainly shouldn't be treated differently to devalue their time. With that said, one of the what we have to do and where we have our work cut out for us is getting more Republicans to formally endorse and co-sponsor the bill. So we're excited that the bill's been introduced, and now hopefully we can get more members to sign up and lend their name to it.
OOIDA will soon be launching a call to action on the GOT Truckers Act. Check out fightingfortruckers.com for more details. General Motors has recalled every single one of its Cruise robo-taxis nationwide. In documents posted online by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, GM said the crew's vehicles are getting a software update. It's in response to last month's crash in San Francisco, during which a Cruise robotaxi dragged a pedestrian. That incident prompted Cruise to suspend driverless operations nationwide. The company said the software update will force the vehicles to remain stationary should something similar happen again. Meanwhile, more than 24 unions sent a letter to Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg and NHTSA Administrator Ann Carlson this week, urging an industry-wide probe into driverless vehicles, citing safety concerns. We have more details about the auctioning off of tens of thousands of yellow trucks, trailers, and equipment. Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers in Nation's capital recently got approval to liquidate Yellow's assets. They plan to start selling off about 60,000 units of trucks, trailers, and miscellaneous support equipment throughout 2024. That auction is separate from another that is dedicated to Yellow's 169 terminals. What happens with them will be decided later this month by the courts. Estes, Old Dominion Freight Line, and ABF Freight have all expressed interest in bidding on the properties. Yellow went under in August and filed for bankruptcy. If you're in West Virginia over the next several days, you've got a chance to see the U.S. Capitol Christmas tree as it makes its way to Washington, D.C. The tree will be making 13 stops throughout the state. Today and Saturday, it's in Morgantown, and then Sunday in Upper Tract. The 63-foot-tall Norway spruce was harvested from the Monongahela National Forest earlier this month. Tim Dean and Jesus Davila of Warner Enterprises have the honor of hauling it to its final destination, the West Lawn of the U.S. Capitol. We spoke with both men after they were selected. Dean said he was looking forward to showcasing what professional drivers do.
We're not in a rush. It's going to be a positive experience, and for the folks of West Virginia to get out and see this tree that come from their forest is a pleasure to be a part of it and, bring some happiness because, we spend as professional drivers, we're delivering the goods that people need. This is something that will give happiness to the locals as well as getting it to the national or to Capitol Hill and have it displayed there, reminding us of Christmas. That it's pretty awesome.
Davila echoed that sentiment.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a great opportunity to showcase, what professional drivers do on the daily across America. Warner Enterprises' motto is "We keep America moving," and this is just another opportunity to showcase that with this, we're keeping the country going, and we're doing a service for our country, and meeting the people and seeing the faces, especially the children, knowing that tree came out of their state and forest that they may have visited or went camping at. It's just that joy of seeing excitement from the people that we're going to be meeting is going to make it's going to make everything worth it. So.
The U.S. Capitol Christmas tree should be delivered late next week. As of right now, the date for the tree lighting ceremony has not been announced, but it's usually shortly after Thanksgiving. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Another truck got stuck on Smuggler's Notch in Vermont. Vermont State Police say it happened last week on the notorious stretch of Route 108 in Cambridge. The tractor-trailer's driver told troopers he was following his GPS before getting stuck, blocking traffic. The driver was issued several citations. Numerous signs along Smuggler's Notch warn trucks to turn around before meeting a similar fate, and yet it's a story that continues to repeat itself time and time again. And finally, Travel Centers of America just opened up its 8th location in the state of Louisiana. It's east of Shreveport. The TA Express in Minden off Highway 532 features 50 truck parking spaces and 5 diesel bays. That's Landline Now News for today. I'm Scott Thompson.
Thanks, Scott. Next, Ashley Blackford sits down with Norita Taylor to discuss this year's Truckers For Troops campaign, and we'll hear about an effort to restore a historic airplane. We'll be back in just a moment with more of the program. I'm Mark Reddig, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
Today's rising costs affect everyone. Replace your harmonic damper with a genuine Vibratech TVD viscous damper to prevent costly repairs and downtime. Keep your money in your pocket and your truck on the road with Vibratech TVD. Recommended replacement at 500,000 miles or 15,000 hours.
Ready to make more money? Use a better load board. For a limited time, get 50% off Truckstop Load Board Pro. Just go to truckstop.com/go and enter promo code READY2023 when you purchase Load Board Pro.
Firestone tires are for more of everything. More miles for every tire dollar and more confidence in your fleet. At Firestone, we help fleets save with dependable value. Find your local Firestone dealer today at firestonetire.com/dealer.
Welcome back to Landline Now and the annual Truckers for Troops Telethon, an effort to raise money to send care packages to our troops overseas and to support homeless veterans through the Veterans Community Project.
Thank you all so very much for your service and most importantly, your sacrifice.
Thank you for your service. Stay safe.
Thank you for protecting us and serving our country.
Welcome back. Norita Taylor joins me now. She is Director of Public Relations for OOIDA. Norita, thank you for coming in.
You bet. Anytime. Love doing it.
Starting off, can you talk to me about your involvement with Truckers for Troops?
Sure. So basically, I've been involved in a manner of speaking since the beginning when we started it as far as public relations. My job is to, do the outside media, get as much media as possible. But also for the past few years, we have an internal committee that meets on a regular basis. And we try to come up with ideas of how to kind of keep the program going, keep promoting it, new ways to promote it so that it's not the exact same thing every year, making sure that we're exploring new ideas to make it more exciting, keep it going.
Why is it such an important campaign for OOIDA?
This is such an important campaign because we know that our members have connections to the military. It may be because they are a veteran themselves, or they have sons and daughters, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers that have served. And so we know that it's meaningful for them. And this is a great way to give them a way to show their support for veterans and for troops. And this is just the perfect way to execute it. And doing it around Veterans Day is the perfect time to do it.
Now, this is our 17th year, and if the website is correct, you've been here for 17 years, so kind of the duration of the campaign?
Pretty much.
Talk to me about that and about, being involved and how it's kind of grown over the years.
Sure. So it started out pretty small, but at the same time, it came out, like gangbusters from the very beginning. And I had a feeling that it would because like I said, we know that our members want to show their support for the military. At that time, we had a pretty significant, we meaning the U.S. military, had a significant presence overseas in the Middle East. So there was a lot of interest in showing support. Care packages was a perfect way to do it. And we knew that we had kind of an internal template from some employees that had been sending care packages overseas. And we thought, wow, we could take that template and we can just kind of expand it a bit. And we were pretty overwhelmed with the generosity right from the get-go, that very first campaign. We weren't quite sure how big of a response would we get, but we got a tremendous response, and we knew we were off and running.
And how has things changed over the years?
Sure. So basically, it's changed a little bit. It's grown a little bit. It's gone down a little bit only because the U.S. presence has been removed from overseas. And so, but that's the way things are. We simply shifted our focus to stateside. There's lots of veterans here that need help. There's lots of ways to show support. The VA administration, as much as they can do, they can only do so much. There's a lot of veterans. There's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of things that still need to be done to help them in a variety of ways. And, something that you've already gotten into probably with other segments and also in the magazine that our listeners have heard about is the Veterans Community Project, which is a growing program. And that's a great way to show support for veterans here stateside.
And how has it been for you to see how much OOIDA gets involved?
It's really tremendous. It's really fun. It's really amazing that we can come up with new ideas, new ways. There's just always, my favorite thing to bring up is the backpacks.
Mm-hmm.
We in the magazine, in the October Landline magazine, there's a 2-page spread here. It's a great article if listeners haven't seen this yet, where we paid a visit to the Veterans Community Project on a volunteer day, and it shows a photograph of the backpacks that we delivered, and those are specifically for homeless veterans or for anyone that uses the commissary there. It's a really great program. Lots of other things that we could get into. It depends on how much we want to get into the Veterans Community Project.
Yes, yeah. Tell me more about what that is for our listeners who don't know.
Sure. So the Veterans Community Project, or VCP, it started here in Kansas City, and it's a really great program. What people most know it by is the Tiny Houses campus, which is a series of very small trailer-sized homes that are built for homeless veterans. But that's not all there is. There's a community center, there's outreach, all kinds of services that they do every day of the week for people who are not residents there. And the thing that I want to remember to get across to people that is even more unique about the Veterans Community Project is that with their residents that do live there, they are allowed to have their pets. And this is something that I hope that, we get a lot of buzz about, because so few shelters of any kind for homeless, whether it's veterans or otherwise, allow pets. I don't know that very many do at all, maybe not any, but that's something that all of the VCP locations, and they are growing in other locations throughout the country, this is something that's unique and very important, because what they recognized is that some people who are homeless, they will not seek any kind of help because they don't want to leave their cat or dog.
Yeah.
And that's really sad.
Yeah. And as somebody who has a pet myself, I can't imagine, going through such a difficult time and then having to surrender them somewhere else.
Right.
So, talk to me about some of the other things. I know you mentioned the commissary day, and then just, a lot of the staff here at OOIDA have stepped up and gone and volunteered.
Sure. So we basically went as a group one day in August. A bunch of us went and descended upon the VCP. They have a really great volunteer program, a really great template that makes it easy for corporations or groups, organizations, churches, whomever can just show up there, and they have you box up some food for the food pantry, or maybe move some things around. Maybe there's some cleaning. It's not really heavy duty stuff, or I guess they would be they'd be glad to help the heavy duty stuff like the lawn care. They've got all kinds of things that need to be done, but they try to make it as easy as possible. So that's one thing that our employees done. But also internally here, we are decorating some barrels. We have a contest. We are collecting donations for the VCP, and we kind of made it a little fun by having some inter-employee competition. There's a pizza party at stake here, folks. So
that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So we try to make it fun internally to get people involved and excited about the program.
And talk to me about, all this stuff that's done here at OOIDA. It helps the VCP. It helps these care packages. But it's also kind of beneficial for the association to bring our staff together to work towards, a goal to help those in need.
That's right. We're all a team here. We're all here to support everything about our small business truckers who are members here, everything that they need. We're here as a team for so many different things. But what's really great is if we come together on a common goal here, which is supporting veterans, and coming together, doing these competitions internally or cheering each other on, coming on Landline Now, going to the VCP. It's kind of like a buzz week here that we go to every year, and it's a lot of fun.
And what do you notice about the trucking community when it comes to giving back, especially to those who have served?
Sure. So like I said, they have connections of their own, and they are usually extremely generous in giving and showing support, like I said, because they've either been in the military or they know someone. Whether we have a presence overseas or not, there's always a connection, especially, when people get out of the service and the support that they need. And we know that the trucking community, that just kind of goes together because we know so many of them are veterans.
And talk to me about the timing of this. Of course, it's very fitting that it runs during Veterans Day and Thanksgiving coming up.
Sure. So this year we're doing things a little bit differently. We usually just go for 1 week, but this year we're doing 2 weeks for a variety of reasons. Part of the way we have the podcast for Landline now, but also, we decided that there's no harm in going ahead and extending the discount and the matching. We can raise a lot more money that way. It's just a little easier to kind of fit everything in. We've always had to jam pack everything into 1 week, and it's like, you know what? We've got enough here. We can do it for 2 weeks.
And you mentioned when we first started chatting about your role in getting this information out and talking to other media. What has that involvement been as far as getting out what OOIDA has done over the years for this campaign?
Sure. So what I do is I make sure as I send stuff out to trade and mainstream media. I've already done one segment with a station or a show on Sirius Road Dog Channel with Mark Willis as the host. I already talked to him about it. Probably have some other radio stuff lined up for this week that I'll be talking to, just making sure that everyone in the trucking community is aware of the program and what they can take advantage of. You can donate all year long, but this is the time of year when we get people pumped up about it and raise that awareness.
Are you ever surprised by the generosity of the association or of just the trucking community in general?
It's funny you say that. We are and we aren't surprised. We shouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, like I said, that very first year, we were kind of blown away, but we shouldn't have been. We should have seen it coming. We should have known that they were ready to channel that support, and they needed a way to do that. And the Truckers for Troops was the perfect program to carry that out.
And I think it's interesting that, as the campaign has gone along, I mean, like when troops were pulled out, how the association was able to kind of find another project, the VCP. And that's growing. That started in Kansas City. Talk to me more about that.
Sure. So, yes, it began in Kansas City. They have a really great program, a large campus. It's considered their headquarters nationally, but they have been gradually expanding to other cities. And their ultimate goal is to have at least one VCP outreach center of subtype in each state. Now, right now, they've got another one in St. Louis, which is still in Missouri, but that's the other side of the state. They've got one in Longmont, Colorado, and they've got Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They're working on Oklahoma and Wisconsin, and I think there's another one maybe that I'm just not remembering it. But like I said, this is a slow process. It's a gradual process. The good news is that those three, the Colorado, South Dakota, and the other one here in Missouri over in St. Louis, they do have a full campus for the tiny houses part done. Not all of them will have outreach centers, but all of them will have tiny houses, and they will all allow pets.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the other locations. I know in Kansas City, a lot of former veterans run it. And so, which I've talked to Casey, and she talked about the importance of that, offering help to somebody, receiving help from somebody who understands what you've been through.
Right. It makes sense that the people that are going to get involved are the volunteers who have an interest in that, already have a vested interest in helping other veterans themselves. They've pulled themselves up from the bootstraps, or they've just maybe witnessed someone going through a tough time, and so they have a connection, and it makes sense for them to get involved as volunteers or eventually as employees there as well. And it's really, really amazing what they do out there. They really have a lot that they're trying to hold up, and they do an amazing job of keeping that program going.
If any of our listeners want to donate, how can they do that?
Well, they can do that by going to the website. The way the program works is you join or renew this week at a discount, and 10% of that is going to be put towards Truckers for Troops and matched by OOIDA. If you just simply call or go to the website. You can call us at 816-229-5791. If you just call, we can get you joined, or don't do straight donations, which are tax deductible, by the way. All these are the things that you can do to help us out.
All right, Norita, thank you so much.
You bet.
That was Norita Taylor talking about Truckers for Troops. For more information, you can visit OOIDA.com or call 816-229-5791. For Landline Now, I'm Ashley Blackford.
Just want to give a big shout out to all of the service people that we have out there. Thank you so much for everything that you do for us and the freedom that you give us each day.
Control your toll costs and eliminate tolling headaches with Prepass Tolls. Prepass Tolls means toll volume discounts. Just one invoice for all tolls and fewer violations. Call 877-878-5970 or go to prepass.com.
Attention all truckers, Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I want to talk to you about those dreaded tax problems. I know you want to keep on trucking and not even think about them, but let's face it, they're not going away all on their own. You need professional help. I've been helping truckers put their tax problems in the rearview mirror for years. I can help you too. Call me now for a free consultation at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com. It's like I always say, keep your eyes on the road, I'll keep mine on the IRS. 888-557-4020.
It's tested and proven. Burn 2.1% less fuel when you balance all wheel ends with Centromatic. Call 800-523-8473 to get the OOIDA discount.
Landline Now, welcome back. A trucking company recently made a special delivery to Camp Toccoa in Georgia. Missy Payne is a driver recruiter for rail transport. She was instrumental in coordinating the effort to get the engines and propellers to Camp Toccoa for their Project C-47. She joins me now. Missy, can you tell me more about this unique load?
Well, where I live here in Toccoa, we have Camp Toccoa at Currahee. And that is actually, if you've ever heard of the Band of Brothers or anything about that, that is where the paratroopers trained back for World War II. And over the last many years, they have been reconstructing the barracks as well as a lot of the different grounds and structures there at the camp. And one of the final pieces they've been there's still a lot to go, but one of the pieces they were working on was a C-47 that they had obtained in pieces, and they have rebuilt that entire plane. The two things missing were the two engines and propellers. And for years they've been working on this, and a year and a half ago, Patrick Hall, who works there, he's also an elk with me at our Elks Lodge, was discussing that they had found somebody in Wisconsin that had the engines and propellers that were needed, but they had no way to get them here. Basler Turbo was going to donate those items, but it was still more of an expense to get them here. And at the lodge one night, at the Toccoa Elks Lodge, I heard those guys talking about it, and it just, here in Wisconsin and here in trucking and then here in Camp Toccoa, I just put it in my mind to ask my company, would they be able to assist in that? And of course, rail being as military-friendly and veteran-friendly as they are, they jumped at the chance. So they brought those to the camp and delivered them directly in front of the plane for no charge.
Oh, wow. And you kind of touched on it a little bit, but can you talk about your involvement, obviously not just what you do at your company, but your involvement also with the Elks Lodge that you mentioned?
I'm actually the House Committee Chairman at our lodge and have been for several years. Also, I'm the lecturing night at our lodge. Generally, I'm at the lodge 5 to 7 days a week, every week. And we do, not just our lodge, but all across the United States, all of the Elks Lodges are extremely military-friendly. Our children charities and our military and our veterans are two of our biggest projects. So we work all year long in all different capacities with different individual veterans, veterans programs, and everything from nursing homes to things like Camp Toccoa. Where it bleeds over is a lot of the guys who are veterans are members, and a lot of those veterans volunteer at Camp Toccoa as well. So they have dual purposes there as far as the work they are hands-on doing, whether they're working in the gift shop or doing tours of Camp Toccoa or actually building the plane and these barracks and reconstructing the grounds there. So they work hand in hand. And that's how we do veterans events, like Veterans Day dinners we've done at Camp Toccoa from the lodge. We donate money to the lodge that we raise, or to the camp every year, that helps these building projects monetarily. We can just write them a check every year besides just the work that we can individually do.
Mm-hmm.
So they just go hand in hand. That's one of our biggest things at the Elks, or any Elks Lodge across the United States, is our veterans.
What did it mean for you personally to, be so invested in the Elks Lodge, but to have your company, be so gracious to help out with this project?
I'll be honest, it's actually still a little overwhelming, simply because not only myself, but so many people that I'm friends with and family donate so much of their time and energy to the lodge. And that's one of our just greatest blessings here. But to be able to tie that in with something else that I am so passionate about, which is rail transport, to be able to work for a company that has the same values you do and supports the things that you do, is, like I said, it's still just kind of overwhelming to see your hometown that you were born and raised in, and standing among friends and family that you work beside every day on the grounds of Camp Toccoa, which is such a historical, important place, and then have a rail transport truck with a veteran, a U.S. Army veteran, driving that truck right beside this plane. It's really overwhelming, and it's humbling.
And how significant was it? Did you say there was a U.S. Army veteran who did the trip, who drove?
Yes. And that's, again, rail is such a military-friendly and veteran-friendly company. It was priceless that they sent a U.S. Army vet that delivered the load. And just to be, again, standing there and you're seeing him talk with the other veterans that I work with every day, and the pride on both sides of the coin, and them going through and talking about the truck even they was in and the things that rail transport does for our veterans internally. We have a veterans program. It's an honors program. That's a question I ask every driver I hire, if you're prior military, because rail has things in place to honor those veterans. And they're given special things at different times, as well as nice decals to the side of their tractor. Rail also has one of the only companies I ever hear of, because I hear it every day, that these guys that are still active, that have drills and things, they'll be at companies for a long time, but they have to quit their job to go serve their country, and then they have to come reapply and lose all their seniority. And with rail transport, you simply give them your dates of when your drills are, and you're able to go take care of what you need to for your country and come back and start back at your company with the seniority you already had. So again, it just day-to-day work lining up with what you have to do for a living to line up with the way you live makes rail transport a very valuable thing to me.
And from your perspective, why is it so important that we honor our veterans?
Oh, man, that's a loaded question. I believe that each and every one of us are different. I know we all have different values and we all have different beliefs. But I believe the reason that I get to choose to live the way I do, to work where I want to volunteer where I want to, is because of all these men and women who do serve, have served, and everything that they've done over the years, all the way back to the work there at the training at Camp Toccoa. Everything that was done allows me to live the life that I choose to live. And also the people who don't agree with me or live different lives, it gives them that same ability. Mm-hmm. And I think that every American owes them a huge debt of gratitude, and anything we can do to honor them in the work we do at the Coelce Lodge and the work that they do to preserve that historical site and educate through Camp Toccoa are necessary and also very valuable.
Mm-hmm. And as far as the engines go, was it multiple engines or just one?
2 engines and 2 propellers valued at over $60,000.
Oh, wow.
That were donated through Basler Turbo out of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And then just like I said, they literally had been a year and a half from the time that they first was contact in regards to those being found and that they were willing to donate those to the camp. It was a year and a half before we came to this project with rail to be able to get them here.
What is the significance? What does it mean to have the engines and the propellers at Camp Toccoa?
A lot, because several different things. One thing that comes to my mind is just the work that I see that these men have put into rebuilding that engine. I remember being there several years ago for Veterans Day and seeing it on the ground in pieces, and to see it upright now with just those missing from the front is huge, because there's not just people in Toccoa, there's not just people in the United States, there's people across the world that travel to Camp Toccoa to view the grounds, to go through and look at this part of history, because it's not just people like me here in the U.S. that appreciate what these men did there, but because of what they did for World War II, there's people across the world that know what a contribution these paratroopers played and how that went and how they get to live their lives today because of what these men have done there. So to be able to visit there and see a piece of that, it's not just looking at the Grand Canyon or that's something that meant to these people's lives today across the world. So I think it's huge.
And the C-47 project, I'd read online that Camp Toccoa intends to repair and repaint the aircraft. Is that the plan?
Absolutely. The work is actually scheduled to begin on that portion in September. So everyone's really excited. Each thing, like I said, there's a lot of people that come into place to get all these things done, and they work around different schedules, but also money. They work off donations. So as funds become available, but also as labor becomes available, because most of these guys are either veterans that are older now, maybe, or people that are not as that are younger but still work. So these are all volunteers, and it's all done through donations. So some of these, just like that, getting the engines here took a year and a half from the first contact. Some of these things take some time, but it's the dedication of all the people working together to make it happen is what keeps it moving forward.
What do you think it's going to be like once it is all together and the project's complete and you're standing there and looking at it?
Again, overwhelming, because the visual of the first time I saw it on the ground years back was just amazing to see. It just, like I said, just being such a part of history and knowing what it takes you back to of what those men were doing and where they were at and what was going on around them. But then to see it put together and upright is a whole nother feeling. I can only imagine when I see those propellers and on the front of it, like it can take off. And I'll tell you, I literally just got to see one a month ago because we had a functioning C-47 that was here in our town that they were doing a live jump from. So it's amazing. It looks just like it. So to see the one they're rebuilding and the one that they brought in it's pretty cool to see it.
That was Missy Payne with Rail Transport talking about the special delivery to Camp Toccoa. For more information on Project C-47, you can visit Camp Toccoa at Currahee.org. For Landline Now, I'm Ashley Blackford. Stay tuned for more after this.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one. That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com, because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
Landline Now. Welcome back. And welcome to Day 5 of the OOIDA Truckers for Troops Telethon here on Landline Now. Once again, we are gathering money here to send care packages to our troops overseas and to support homeless veterans through the Veterans Community Project. It's very simple to take part. All you have to do is call 816-229-5791. And then you can also go to OOIDA.com and click on either Become a Member or Donate. Now, you can join OOIDA or renew your membership for 2 years for $50, which is a $40 discount. 10% of that will go into this fund to send the care packages and to help our veterans. OOIDA will match that money. And of course, that Donate Here button allows you to just make a direct donation into the fund. Once again, the phone number is 816-229-5791 or go to OOIDA.com. And Norita, we've talked a lot about Veterans Community Project. Earlier in the show today, you mentioned a few things. The Commissary Day is something that a lot of folks from here at OOIDA took part in. I wonder if you can go into some more detail on that.
Sure. So basically, there's a lot of different ways that people can volunteer at the Veterans Community Center. They have a volunteer day. They have Commissary Day. You can volunteer at both of those. And the Commissary Day is the first Wednesday of the month where they allow veterans to come and shop. I'm doing air quotes here. Shop in the pantry and get all kinds of supplies, including food for their pets if they happen to be a resident in the tiny homes. And then the day that we participated in, that volunteer day, we did have the commissary to ourselves, and we packed boxes and moved some supplies around, basically restocked the shelves, and then we took a tour of the campus, which was incredible to hear the stories about how the entire program came about. It was just really very moving to understand a little more about how it all works.
And that's the thing you kind of go into there, is that Veterans Community Project is doing a lot more than just these tiny homes. They've got all kinds of services there for the veterans who are there resident and also other veterans in the broader community.
That's right. They have walk-in support services ranging from mental health services to helping find a job, all kinds of things to help them kind of sort through all the red tape in getting themselves the help that they need, no matter what it is, whether they're homeless or not, just the kind of things that the VA can't do all of themselves or just don't have a way to provide those services.
And of course, OOIDA has donated a lot of money, but also brought in some material help. I remember they have to furnish the tiny homes at OOIDA when you're provided the recliners.
That's right. We learned from them by talking to the people that run the place. You know, what do you need other than donations? What do you actually need here? And one of the things on the list was recliners, because the residents who live in the tiny homes, when they leave, they take the furnishings with them. They get to keep those things.
All brand new stuff that's in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so the next person that comes along gets all brand new for them when they move in.
It's amazing how they do that and how it helps those veterans out. Something else that we've talked about this week is the fact that this is no longer just a project in Kansas City. They've talked for some time about expanding, and in fact, they are expanding a number of places across the country.
That's right. They're expanding to St. Louis, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Longmont, Colorado. They're working on Oklahoma City and someplace in Wisconsin. I think there's another one, maybe
there is a third.
It's like half a dozen,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
That are either
they're
open
up to
or
about
in the
6 now.
works,
So they're working on it, yes.
Yeah, it's a fantastic program, and folks, we hope you'll support it. Again, that phone number is 816-229-5791, or go to OOIDA.com. And this year, we are doing something a little different. We're expanding this into the next week. You can still take part all of this coming week by going to that phone number or going to that website all the way through the 19th. In fact, to the start of business on the 20th. And a big part of this still is sending the care packages to our troops. And Jami, just for folks that aren't familiar, even though we've talked about this a number of years, what are some of the things that are in these care packages?
Well, they range from practical to absolutely silly. So I can assure you that these 70-pound care packages, these are not shoe boxes. These are giant care packages designed to serve an entire unit. Could have anything from clean white socks in them, which, that's a commodity. Hot sauce, silly string, which is, as we learned earlier this week, while fun, it can also be
also practical.
Very,
potentially
very
life-saving.
Life-saving, yes. Who would have thought? And so there's all these different things, and no space is ever wasted. One of my favorite stories is one year, instead of packing peanuts or any sort of space filler, if you will, they used actual peanuts to pack it. So when it was done, there were bags that they could dump the peanuts out into paper sacks and share those. So every penny that is donated or brought in through the membership, goes toward these care packages, and it goes toward VCP. OOIDA does not take a cut of anything. It's all volunteer. And I think it's really important. We know it's a rough year. I mean, we have the news on here all the time about freight rates down and the things, a donation, it's tax deductible, $5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, $5 can go a long way toward, because we are wily at spending this stuff, on things to get the most bang for our buck. And even though we don't have an active military conflict, I mean, these are people who are away from home. They're scared. A lot of them are young. They're poised, ready to go to battle at any given moment. So a little bit of levity from home still means a lot when you're standing there on the ready to go to war for your country.
And to add to that, too, everybody listening right now knows somebody who is serving overseas right now. We need names.
Addresses.
It doesn't have to be your son or your daughter or your uncle or aunt or whoever. It could be a friend of a friend's kid.
Your neighbor's nephew.
Exactly.
We don't care.
Everybody out there knows somebody.
The mail carrier, the dog catcher.
We want to make sure we are sending as many of these care packages out as we possibly can. So if you know somebody, please do reach out. I think Nikki Johnson is the one to reach out to. But if you call that number, 816-229-5791, and say you've got an idea of somebody to send a care package to, they'll get you
connected.
They will direct you to the right person.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And of course, you can also just send an email to troops@ooida.com. That goes directly to Nikki so she can get that name and address. And one of the things that's cool is that these boxes are packed not just for one person. They're packed for an entire squad.
Oh, yeah, an entire unit. So we've heard of upward, they'll have these giant care packages, and there will be a unit out on patrol. They might bust it open and have it there waiting, and when they get back, it's like, it's Christmas, because like I said, these are not, when you think of care packages, you think of the shoe boxes that you did as kids in school. Mm-hmm. That's not the case. These are a couple feet, wide by a couple feet tall. I mean, they are huge, and they weigh so much by the time we're done.
It's a morale boost that keeps on giving, too. This isn't like a one-day thing. These folks are using these items for days, weeks, weeks on end. So it's really cool.
And if you do know somebody that's serving and would like a care package, ask them what they need, because not every PX has the same stuff. They might be short on certain things that we could fill that gap. So we're always looking for ideas on different and unique stuff, because we know the hot sauce for the MREs, they love that because it actually gives it some flavor. There's some tried and true things that we do, but we're always looking for ideas along with those names and addresses.
Yeah, I remember one year they went to Sonic, and Sonic donated ketchup and mustard packets for those MREs.
Exactly.
Again, stretching those dollars as far as they can be stretched.
We've had casinos donate retired playing cards off the tables.
Not money.
Yeah, not money.
Not money. Okay.
They gave us old playing cards.
Very generous.
Really old. It is. We find ways to stretch every dollar donated. So really, even if it's a tough year, $5, $10, we will make it count.
And again, folks, you can go to OOIDA.com, click on Become a Member or Donate to take part, or call that number 816-229-5791. Do either one of those to the start of business on the 20th, and you will be counted toward the total in the Truckers for Troops Telethon for this year. Once again, I'm here in Studio A with Norita Taylor, Ashley Blackford, Jami Jones, and Scott Thompson. We're talking about this effort to raise money for care packages for troops and to support our veterans. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Mark Reddig, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
I'm a dad,
a son,
a husband,
wife,
I'm a writer,
photographer.
I farm.
I'm a veteran.
I love old cars, fishing,
my kids,
chrome, and I am a professional truck driver.
And together we are OOIDA.
OOIDA was founded by truckers to stand up and speak on behalf of truckers. We've done that by combining the individual voices of our members into a single, powerful voice. Protecting your interests, defending your rights.
Join us!
Make your voice heard. Join OOIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. Call 1-800-444-5791 or visit OOIDA.com.